Hello, everybody. It is great to be here again today. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO, President, and co founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 17 startups under my belt and over 30 years worth of experience. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And with that today, I'd like to introduce my great friend Mandeep Singh. Mandeep is a serial entrepreneur, an angel investor, a mentor, an M&A advisor. I mean, he is one of the most connected persons I've ever met in my life. And we say about getting shit done, Mandeep is the epitome. He's the guy that can do it. He's incredible. He's an experienced board member with demonstrated history of work in telecom technology. He's skilled in people management. And yes, I can say he's very good at that: process management, delivery, and performance management with a strong operational background. With that, I'd like to bring on my friend Mandeep. Hi, Mandeep.
Hi, Gary.
So tell me a little bit about it. So you went to Shivalik Public School. Where is that? What city is that in?
That's a place called Chandigarh, Gary. It's on the foothill of Himalayas. So about 5.5 hours of driving distance from Delhi if you travel north. Nice place. In fact, one of the most beautiful cities in India.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, so you were in the foothills of the Himalayas?
That is true.
Did you ever
And
go into the Himalayas, Mandeep? Did you ever go
every
hiking up there?
every weekend, Gary, every weekend. That's what we did for fun back then when there was
Well,
no internet, no mobile phones. All you did is get on your bikes and go uphill. That's what we would call it. We wouldn't even call out the destination. We would just say, let's go uphill. And that meant you could go up and stop wherever you wanted.
now, did you ever tell each other stories about the Yeti or Bigfoot? That's scary. Because that sounds like a good setting for something like that.
Only when we stayed overnight, Gary. Otherwise, a
Oh
day
my!
trip doesn't work very well.
Now, are there a lot of wild animals on the Himalayas? Do you see things?
Well, to since I was on the foothills and we didn't really go that high up there, the areas we traveled were mostly already populated or semi-populated, right, as hills can be.
Hmm.
So there were a lot of domesticated animals, goats and sheep and cows and stuff, but not so many wild animals to the extent that we went to. Very occasionally would we come across a snake or a leopard on our hiking trips.
You would come across a snake or a leopard?
Yes, that's when went off-road hiking, right? So we
Oh, that's
parked.
amazing.
Yeah,
Wow. And so, how was it growing up when you grew up in your town? How was that? Was it, you said you were bikes and then no cell phones or anything? I mean, for going for fun, were you hiking and fishing and those kind of things?
not so much fishing, but hiking for sure.
Hmm.
And driving around and kind of going to destinations that so-called people never gone before, kind of thing, was the big thing those days, especially when you were part of that city. There were other interesting things happening. It was kind of untouched by all the kind of modern stuff that was going around. So it had a place of its own, as a city, and a culture of its own that I think I thoroughly enjoyed and soaked.
Well, that's great. Yeah, it sounds like paradise.
Yeah, it does, but it's getting like every place else now. So paradise doesn't last, right?
Yeah,
It
well,
gets
paradise lost, right?
yes, yeah.
So you go from there, you go to the government college for men in Punjab, and then how did you go? So you went to Rang Baxi, and then you went to Bank of America. What made you decide to go into operations at Bank of America?
So you got this, Gary. So Ranbaxy was a finance and accounting job, and I
Mhm.
qualified as a chartered accountant, which is equivalent of a CPA in the US. But I very quickly figured out, and again, in those days, accounting or finance wasn't as involved with business as it is today. It was mostly about, post-mortem activity, right? In terms of things have already happened, it's your job to now collate that data and put it out nicely, or cut vendor payments based on decisions somebody else has made, or reconcile banks if the accounting is out of line. So I realized that I had too much energy to be spending just in the finance and accounting, and figured out that the real way to do this is to be part of an operations team where real life decisions are being made. You're talking to the customers, real life, and that transition, uh, fortunately happened through a friend of mine who called me from Bank of America saying, we are looking for chartered accountants, building a new team. Would you care to relocate to Delhi from Chandigarh, which is the so-called paradise, and join this team? And I said yes. And then, of course, things didn't stop from there. So I moved around over 30 years into various roles, operations, business development, and starting with finance. Yeah.
Well, so you went to, what made you decide to go to Spice Telecom then? So it sounds like you had a good situation going on at Bank of America. So you went to Spice Telecom in the senior manager of finance.
Right. So this was kind of a homecoming back to Chandigarh. Okay.
You
Kind of
wanted to go
the
home.
I didn't want it as much as the home called me back saying, here's this job, and we'll pay you a lot more than Bank of America pays you, because telecom is the new industry. That point in time, Gary, the cellular telephony had just been launched in India, and that industry was paying top dollar to draw people from banking, from hospitality, all kind of industries. There was hardly any real telecom industry in India at that point in time, so they had to get people from elsewhere. And I think that was an attractive, very very attractive offer, because you get to go back to your hometown with double the salary that you're getting in a place like Delhi, where the
Oh my
expenses.
God, that's great. Well, you were the
Yeah,
you were the king of the town then, huh? The
I was.
Maharaja of the city.
I was. I was for a short, very very short while. But here's the punchline, Gary. Once you've tasted the so-called the outside world, the hometown is never going to be enough for you. So I went out to the big bad world again, and kind of even went global with those roles, some of those
Yeah,
roles.
well, you only spent 2 years back, so you got a little bored and had to go, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you go into Fidelity National Information Services. Then you move. What made you decide to go to Keene?
So Keen was again a step up from after I spent about 4 years with the company was called eFunds then, which later got acquired by Fidelity. That role also allowed me to spend a lot of time in the US. I actually lived there on a L1 visa for almost a year with my family. Came back, and at that point in time, the business process outsourcing, or the ITES industry as we know it, was growing very rapidly. So there was a huge demand for talent, not just at the grassroots level, but also at the leadership level. So all of these are pull roles, right? There was no
Mhm.
reason for me to leave eFunds or Fidelity, but the pull came from Keen saying, we are setting up this financial services unit. Come in and join us. That job only
So you
lasted
were
seven.
living in the. Where were you living, Mandeep? What city?
So in the US, I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I also traveled to Dallas, and I traveled to a place called New Berlin in Milwaukee. And when it got too cold for my taste, December, January, I kind of moved over to Scottsdale, Arizona.
There
And
you go. That's what I'm talking about. Because I know one thing. When I was up in Minneapolis and it was January, I thought I was in Moscow. It was really, really cold. And I knew it was interesting, Mandeep, when the big thing was to go to the Mall of America to like have fun because it was so cold outside. It's like you lived, and I spent an entire Saturday in the Mall of America. Going to the restaurant, the little amusement park, and all that stuff
yeah,
just because the weather was awful, actually.
you're right. I remember going into that mall once every week for sure, if not twice.
Yeah, it wasn't just to buy things; it was just to warm up and kind of get some, feel like you're outside, right? But in this
That's
giant
right.
enclosure, it was incredible. Okay, so you did that, and you went to Scottsdale. How did you pull that off for 2 months?
Well, the project I was on actually was a multi-city project, so I just had to be clever about the
You
months that
just
I
had to make
choose.
some more months. And oh, that's nice. And yeah, I remember down there, the point at Tapatio and being able to ride horses in the wintertime and have fun. It's an incredible place. Actually, Scottsdale's beautiful. Paradise Valley,
Right,
all that.
right. And then, of course, got a chance to go all the way to the West Coast, go to LA, Vegas, did all that around Sedona, all of that places. Yeah.
So, what lessons did you learn? So, you've gone to these different places, came over the U.S. How different was it culturally for you?
I think a lot of lessons, Gary. In fact, if you look at my career of 30 years, more than half of it is spent in uh, US companies. And other than Bank of America, which was a US company in India, and kind of was kind of localized here, banking by definition is, and this is prior to the so-called internet age. The other roles were very, very involved. So the I was servicing the US customers, uh, not just people I was reporting to, but people who were reporting into me were based in the US.
Hmm.
So that actually had a lot of impact on who I am today in terms of some of the cultural aspects that came in. Uh, for example, being able to say no, or being able to say a timeline and then stick to it, being transparent, being straightforward.
Is it
uh,
different in India in terms of being able to say no? Do people not say no?
if you've been brought up in an Indian family and have only worked for Indian corporates, then yes, it is. It doesn't come naturally. uh, so I think that way I was
But
lucky to.
when you're saying, if you don't say no, can you really do the job though, or do they just say they don't say no, but they can't really do it?
They can't really do it, so they save getting beaten for another day, and then you save getting
Oh
beaten
my
for
gosh!
another day by another
So
extension.
delayed, huh?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
again, I'm not painting everybody that way, but I'm saying that is a distinct nuance, right? You rather
Yeah,
say
well,
it
I mean, there's a
upfront.
lot of places. I lived in the UK for a while, and in the UK, they don't. Somebody didn't do something right. It's like they're trying to like even keel about it. They never get like pissed off. Like I
Right.
never heard anybody. But in the US, if you don't do something, right, and you've explained it a few times, sometimes you do get a little angry, I would say,
Mhm.
and you have
Mhm.
to, just say, why did you do this? What's wrong? We got to correct this. And in the UK, it was so polite, it was unbelievable, actually.
Yeah.
Too
So
polite.
I do have 7 years of stint with the HSBC. So I can compare and contrast as much as Gary. I think you can. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so you went up, so you were the site CEO at HSBC, and you
Right.
got what
So
up?
in Kolkata, but before that, with Chennai and Mumbai, the job really entailed making sure that 3,000 to 4,000 people who are working on various processes where they are servicing primarily the English-speaking world. So, for example, a mortgage shop in Kolkata was servicing mortgages for Canada, US, UK, Middle East, India, Australia, all of them in one place, right? Uh, and similar 10 other processes: KYC, fraud, analytics, IT help desk, making sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do and the center runs the way it's supposed to. So this is like the presidential role in which functionally people will report elsewhere, but geographically they are all aligned to you. So if there's trouble in Kolkata, then London knows the first guy to call is Mandeep in that sense.
Ah, I got it. Okay, so then you went to, what made you to go from a site CEO to Tech Mahindra as a contracts director,
So
besides the money?
that's where I did take a break. In fact, in my mind, Gary, I started to invest in startups in 2016 when I was still with HSBC, and in 2018 I thought I wanted a different life, which is the life that I'm leading now. But 2018 was in some sense too soon. So in 2018, I was still kind of in a mode: should I go back to corporate? Should I stay being an entrepreneur and self-employed person
Mhm.
myself? And that's when I got lured back into Tech Mahindra, and for a good reason. I ended up signing a $1 billion deal with an insurance company, a global insurance company across 11 different countries. Took me 18 months to stitch that deal, and I came out at the back of having signed that deal. And when COVID hit, to again lead the life that I wanted, which is be self-employed and be part of the startup ecosystem as an investor, mentor. And then I picked up a trade later on, being an M&A advisor.
Wow, that's amazing. So, how is it different? So, Mandeep, so today in your life, how does it feel? Because I know that when you're working for I did the corporate stint with HP for a few years, and I know it was kind of funny. We'd have meetings to talk about meetings. It was interesting, and it was like, and all the politics. It was kind of funny because I was an entrepreneur listening to the politics. It was kind of unusual to hear everybody like positioning themselves. Was it like that for you?
It was like that, but Gary, I have seen a dramatic change because two things happened for me simultaneously. My leaving the corporate world after 30 years and becoming self-employed coincided with COVID coming in, where the life that we lead now, a lot of it is led virtually, has become a way of life, right? So in some sense, it's these two things combined together that have now made it really possible for me to enjoy what I'm enjoying right now. Because think about it, if I was a consultant or an advisor in a pre-COVID world, I could probably do a transaction a day. Now I'm able to do 6 or 7 because it's just 1 hour meetings and people stay focused to the point, right? In the meetings that you set up, there is a bit of chit chat that happens, but you know, 50 out of 1 hour, 50 minutes out of 1 hour will be spent on the subject that you set up the meeting for, which is in the world that I was living in earlier, as you rightly said. So I think both the changes put together somehow have meant that this is now a much more rewarding proposition being on your own, as far as I'm concerned, at the stage I am at.
No, that's great. I agree with you 100%. It's kind of funny because about 7 years ago, I was one of the early Zoom users, and I got it from one of the VCs that funded Eric at Zoom. And I'll never forget it. I got the link, and I would send it out to people, and people say, "Why do I want Zoom? I already have Skype. Why do I need this? I already got WhatsApp. Why do I need this?" And I said, "Because it's really good." No, I don't want another one. I don't want to download another one. And all of a sudden, people start. I saw it right from the beginning. It was unbelievable. And then one person would use it. Then we'd talk, and then they would get another one. And this viral effect, it was incredible. But you're right. Even StreamYard, which we're on right now, was developed in Canada in, I believe, 2018.
Mhm.
So, our world's changed, and you're right, we can be a lot more efficient than we used to be because our time is really optimized. You can be wherever. You don't even know where somebody is anymore.
Correct.
And it
Absolutely
doesn't
correct.
really matter. The backgrounds can reflect wherever they are or not.
Right.
So you went down through, and so now tell us a little bit about, you're an angel investor and mentor. You've got more than 70 companies, startups globally. I mean, you're incredible in terms of integrating with those companies and convincing them. How do you meet all the companies, and then how do you get a portfolio of over 70 startups?
So Gary, this wasn't built in a day, right? I've been doing this since 2016, so that is almost 6 years now of investing in companies. Uh, while I was in the corporate job, I mean, the job was only being an investor, and an occasional chat over a weekend once a month with the founder. But once I quit in June of 2020, this became my full-time indulgence. And as I start to do this more comes back to you in the form of references that come. Founders who I have funded will refer their friends who will come and talk to me. I work with the GSD as a mentor. There is a Singapore based accelerator that I work with. There is also a couple of Indian accelerators I work with. I'm part of 3 or 4 syndicate groups in India. So all of that makes sure that I have a constant flow of deals that come my way. I work with Venture Garage, where I'm the leader for M&A. They get their own set of deal flow, all of which invariably flows to me. So that way, there's a whole network that comes into play. And you and I both know, Gary, the trick in this game is to you know, not kind of invest in every company, but look for good opportunities to invest, and then one or two or three of them will make it worth your while all the way. So I have taken small bets, uh, most of them less than or equal to $10,000 in one company. My and now that the numbers breached about 70 companies, the idea is that 5 or 7 of them will become half a million, 1 million kind of return back to me, or even more.
No, that's great. And what do you look for when you look at a company, Mandeep?
So I think the one is, of course, who's the founder and the set of founders. Then what the idea is it also, is it something that is a copy paste from another place, or is it a new idea? Is it something that's a lot more meaningful, or is it just another play of, let's say, a cloud kitchen, or just another direct to consumer brand? So I look at the idea from that standpoint. If it was to be successful, can it become 500x or 1000x, as opposed to having finishing at a, let's say, a 10x kind of a thing. So
No.
my idea is to look for those founders ideas which can rapidly scale. uh, I don't care if they fail, to be honest, because that's baked into my investment thesis, that out of every 10 investments I make, 2 or 3 will just go down to zero, but there are
Mhm.
others who will just return the money. The one that I'm looking for is which one of those will give me 50x, 100x. So that's it's a
Have
combination
you
of.
had any 50 to 100x returns?
I'm sitting on one, which is 50x plus. I'm sitting on one which is 30x plus. I'm sitting on a couple which are 20x plus. So, but I haven't exited yet. So who knows? I may get that 3-digit X return sometime in 2022 or
How
2023.
long how long does it take from the time you get in to the time they exit? What do you think? How many
I,
years?
I think the average is about 5 years. You can
Hmm.
be very lucky if you get it in 3. Uh, but if you don't get it in 5, then that's kind of delayed. So average would be about 5 years, Gary, from my standpoint.
Hmm. What excites you? What kind of technology companies excite you, Mandeep?
So I'm a fintech guy, been mostly in BFSI and technology companies, but actually it's the health tech, biotechnology, which is more exciting for me for some reason, because it does something to the human body per se, from a disease prevention, or finding out new ways of making this life better, live longer, live healthier kind of themes. So a lot of my investments are in that area.
Well,
That's probably the most
the
exciting
older
part.
we get, the more we think about it, don't we, Mandeep?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because once you start to invest, then you are able to compare, contrast your own thesis about which ones to invest in, and which ones may not go as the founder proclaims that they may.
Hmm.
Becomes sharper, because it becomes kind of a sweet spot for one to make a decision around.
So there's a lot of activity in India. What's happening there right now? Because it's like, compared to 3 years ago, it's incredible. What's going on? Why is there so much activity?
So I think, Gary, this is a confluence of a lot of things together. uh, Under the current government, there's a lot of move for the informal sector to become part of the formal sector.
Hmm.
So first of all, India is a growing economy, right? So there is a growth that happens. Then there is this shift that is happening from the informal economy to the formal economy. So therefore, the corporates are gaining and the startups are gaining, because they are, let's say there's 10% growth, there's also 10% shift. So that is 20% growth for the corporates and startups to take their share from. So that's going to be one theme. The other theme is that the startups now, to set up a business, it's just become a lot more easier, because a lot of what you had to build from scratch earlier is now plug and play. You want to set up your own shop, set up, figure out what you're going to sell. Everything else, the payment, the customer interaction part of it, are all plug and play things that can be attached to your company. So the technology has made it easier. The other thing is, uh, a lot of tech resources, and there's a growing gig economy, right? So some these things kind of complement each other. For example, a company like Zomato, which relies on technology to map every restaurant anywhere in India, and I have its menu card and have delivery ready. But there's also this guy on the bike who's going to do it for you in less than 30 minutes, right? So
Mhm.
the abundance of tech guys and the gig economy guys is another reason that it's coming together. And of course, the fact that at this point in time, at the back of COVID, there's a lot of money chasing startup ideas. The risk capital is abundantly available. Pretty much like my own thesis, where when I invest in 10 companies, I want one or two to give me 50x, and I don't care if two or three don't succeed.
Yeah,
That's
so what
also
that means, you got to spread it out.
got to spread it out. That's also the VC's mentality, right? So a lot of the ideas are getting that money, and the ones which are becoming successful have picked up the right problem, have the customers coming back to buy over and over again, are the ones that we are seeing as unicorns in India today.
No, that's great. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show. So, closing thoughts, Mandeep, and how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, my email ID is available. Mandeep M Singh @yahoo.com. That's the email ID I use for pretty much everything else. For my mergers and acquisition practice, I have another ID, Mandeep @venturegarage.in. We could publish both of these, once we get this telecast out. And yeah, connect with me. Quick exchange of emails, WhatsApp, and we're in business.
Any closing thoughts?
No, Gary, it's been lovely working with GSD as a mentor. I have referred some of the companies to your cohorts who've had some stunning learnings in terms of becoming global themselves, and have seen some success on go to market and funding. And I think that good work needs to continue. The other part about just what you and I do, I think very, very important, because the founders who have the idea, set up a company, do need people like this in the people like us in the ecosystem to handhold them, share our experiences, mentor them, advise them, for them to become successful. That's part of kind of the give back that we have as well. Some of it does result in money, but I think 70-80% of what I do is actually pro bono today, and I'm happy for that ratio to continue.
Yeah, you're right about it, because one of the things, I know when I started my first company, I had zero clue. The only thing, I had a basic rule: if you put $1 in, you get $2 back. And so it was my fundamental rule. I didn't know that much. My undergraduate degree was in liberal arts, and master's degree, but I did have some experience in, took business courses too. One of the things is, you don't know till you start a company, and
Yeah.
so how to be able to raise money. I didn't. Somebody came up to me when I started my first company and said, "Well, geez," because I was getting personal loans. I would get loans instead of raising, venture rounds. I would get loans, and they said that one of the banks said to me, "Well, we can take equity in your company. We'll give you money and take equity in your company." And I'm like, "Why would I do that? I got to still pay you back. It makes no sense to me. I don't want to do that." So they said, "Well, okay. Well, how much do you want?" And so I started down that. But having people just like yourself, Mandeep, that have incredible experience, that can guide their startups along, is very helpful, because that is the difference between success and failure. The spray and pray approach, where you put 10 in without knowledge, is really difficult. But having that profound knowledge with the best companies in the world and some of the best teams in the world, make sure that you not only you have success, this team has success, and they can really move that company on a global basis. We need to make the world a little bit better place. There's a lot of challenges out there today. We got to breed some goodness, some kindness, and some empathy together. So, for all my friends out there, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the host of GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And it was an honor to have the great Mandeep here today. We love this guy. Let's keep going forward. Startups, reach out to Mandeep, reach out to myself, and let's, as always, get stuff done. Take care of yourself and stay tuned for another exciting edition on Thursday of this week. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks, Mandeep.
Thank you.